What's going on, guys? FadeitLuie here, bringing guys a brand new video. We're gonna be doing a high taper on my boy, so stay tuned. We started off by saturating the hair and picking everything up. Now that we're done saturating the hair, we can move on to our shears and start our guide line throughout the middle and work our way to the sides. When you're doing your shear work, you want to make sure you grab the hair with the comb, feed it into your fingers, holding it tight, and then cut it with your shears. You want to keep that same guideline throughout the whole head shape, because if not, then the hair won't be even. The reason why I'm starting off with my shear work is because it's easier to blend into the hair, and then also I like to debulk first. We're also making sure we have a nice and neat canvas. Now we're connecting the top guideline that we made to the sides and back. Now that we're done with our shear work and we have a nice silhouette and clean canvas, we can move on to our NST outliners and create our first guideline. Now that we're done building out with our NST outliners, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. We're then going to slightly close the lever midway and all the way closed to help us erase that initial guideline. Don't forget to stretch the skin with your opposite hand. This will give you more space to blend. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to our 2 guard all the way open and begin to debulk. We're going high enough to where it's around his occipital bone, but we're also flicking out, leaving enough weight. Now we're using our 3 guard all the way open to go right above the 2 guard all the way open, and this is going to create our shape and silhouette. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you. Now that we're done creating our silhouette, we can move on to our 1 guard all the way open and create our third guideline. With this same guard, we're going to use the lever to soften up the line and get it ready for the half guard. Now we're moving on to our 2 guard all the way open and we're creating our 4th guideline. We're going to use this same guard and the lever to soften up the line and get it ready for the 1.5 guard. You also want to flick out as much as possible with this guard because we are getting into the higher lengths. As you can see, we switched over to our 1.5 guard and we're attacking that line that we softened up with the 2. Sometimes there's still a faint line after using the 1.5 guard, so switching over to your 1 guard all the way open and using its corners would definitely help. Before we use our clipper of a comb, we're going to detail as much as possible with our guards. Now that we're done detailing with our previous guards, we can move on to our clipper of a comb method. This is going to help us finish up the silhouette and shape up the hair. As you can see, I'm doing a lot of horizontal cutting just so I could debulk and make it smooth. When you're doing the high taper blowout, this part is very important. You want to make sure you debulk it properly and make it to where it shapes up and blends properly, because sometimes you could cut too into it and it won't look right and it looks separated from the actual taper. Remember, this is the most important part, so you want to make sure you take your time here and detail as much as possible. We're trying to give the illusion of a flare shape, more of like a blowout and taper. Now that we're done creating our shape and debulking, we can move on to our anti outliners and make them as crispy as possible. I usually start off at the bottom and work my way to the top arch. You always want to make sure you go slow enough and that the hair feeds into the teeth of the trimmer, because if not, then the hair is going to move and you won't line them up properly. If you're a beginner, don't be afraid to move the ear out of the way, especially when they have a big ear or they have a lot of hair that's surrounding the ear area. Yeah, don't be afraid to pull on it and move it out the way. Make sure not to press too hard near this area, the skin is very thin here. Here I'm grabbing my clip over comb and I'm adding a little bit of extra detail on the side. Now that we're done lining them up and creating our shape, we can move on to our anti-outliners and create our first guideline. You want to make sure you don't go too high with this guideline, because then it won't give you enough space to blend the high taper. Now that we're done creating our first guideline, we're going to go ahead and move on to our clip over comb method and debulk and create our shape. We're doing this so it makes it easier to us to blend into the silhouette. Now that we're done debulking, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. You want to make sure you make this guideline around 1 inch thick so you can spread the blend. We're then going to slightly close our lever midway and all the way close and attack that initial guideline. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to our 1 guard all the way open and create our third guideline. We're then going to use this same guard and the lever to soften up the line and get it ready for the half guard. Now that we're done erasing the line with our half guard, we can move on to our 2 guard all the way open and create our fourth guideline. You also want to make sure to flick out and shape up the hair once you get to the top, because if not, it's going to make it harder for you to blend in with your clipper over comb. Now that the guideline is soft enough, we can move on to the 1.5 guard and erase the line completely. Sometimes after using the 1.5 guard, there's still a faint line, so switching over to your 1 guard all the way open and using its corners would definitely help you. Now we're moving on to our clipper over comb method, and this is going to tie the bulk into the taper. This is also going to give us that flare shape. There were still some dark spots that I saw, so I went back to my previous guards and attacked it. Now that we're done with the taper, we can move on to his sideburns and start off with our no guard all the way open. Now that we're done with our no guard all the way open, we move down to our 1.5 guard and our 2 guard, and we debulk the beard. Now we're using our NST outliners to make the beard as crispy as possible right in front of the ear. You also want to make sure you don't press too hard in this area because the skin is very thin here. Moving on to the beard, I feel like laying your client down a little bit is very important. This creates more stability and also it saves time. Now that we're done lining up the beard, we're going to move on to the hairline. And we're going to start off by combing everything in place and then also debulking it with the 1 guard all the way open. We're actually going to use the 1.5 guard all the way open, which is equivalent to a 2 guard closed, just so we can keep it a little bit darker. Now that we're done debulking the hair, we can move on to our NST outliners and start off in the middle and work our way to the sides. It's very important to go slow and make sure the hair feeds into the trimmer, because if not, then you won't line them up properly. You also want to keep their vertical bars as natural as possible. I see a lot of people pushing the corners in and it doesn't look right. You want to make sure to take your time and detail the lining as much as possible. There is no rush here. Now that we're done lining them up, we can move on to our Turkish razor and Derby premium blades and make them as crispy as possible. But of course, before we do that, we're going to apply some shave gel. When you're using the razor, you want to make sure you stretch the skin as much as possible with your opposite hand, and also keep the blade at a 45-degree angle, because if not, you have a higher chance of cutting them. Again, I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Also, if you made it this far into the video, leave a comment down below my subscriber count. I'm 100% gonna reply to it.